Hey guys, this is Courtney from Will's Boom, and today we're going to be talking about the new moon in Leo happening on July 28th of 2022 at 5 degrees of Leo. And I just looked at the clock. It is 3:33 right now. So we have a lot of changeable, mutable energy. So I think of 3, I think of Gemini, the third house, movement, excitement, a lot going on. So definitely I am noticing some things already kind of coming through for this new moon for people in my life. So I am very excited to talk about it. The first thing I wanted to start off by saying is that 5 degrees within the Sabian symbols is, let me see this website. On sabiansymbols.com, there is kind of a phrase for each symbol, or sorry, each degree of each sign. And the phrase for this one is rock formations towering over a deep canyon. And so when you can imagine like these big rock formations like we have here actually in Colorado, especially out in Colorado Springs, Garden of the Gods area, if you haven't heard of it, look it up. So pretty. So if you imagine these huge rock formations and being at the top of them, it's like we are on this precipice. We have done a lot of climbing. We have put in a lot of work. This is a rock. It's a foundation. It's something that we have built slowly over time. But then there's nowhere to go from there. The only way to go is to leap forward into the unknown, is to leap and feel like you don't really have all of the resources or ideas, or you're not even sure how things are going to pan out. And so there can be a feeling of, first of all, leaving behind the past. So kind of mourning and releasing the expectation of the fact that you're not on this rock anymore. And then there's like this also this feeling of maybe excitement, but quite a bit of fear as well, because there's an unprepared type of emotion that can accompany this. And so for many of us, this can be a new beginning that can be very exciting in many ways, but also very scary, and feeling like we're not prepared to take this leap forward, to take this huge step forward. It's not a step, it is a leap. And I think that's the biggest thing here, is I think many of us are going to feel like we're kind of being pushed to our limit, to our edge. We're being pushed outside of our comfort zone because we have been working incrementally, taking step by step our life in a certain direction. And now all of a sudden we are forced to take a massive step in a different direction, a massive leap. So we're forced to not only pick up the pace, but it's in a slightly different direction than maybe we were originally building on or anticipating. And so I think that is a general feeling that many of us can be going through at this Leo new moon right now. Fortunately, this new moon is also making a trine with Jupiter, which is the planet of growth and expansion. And it makes a lot of sense. When you're pushed off the ledge, you are forced to grow into a bigger, more badass version of yourself. It is within the 3-degree orb. We are feeling this. And so there is something quite adventurous about this energy. Leo is a fire sign. It is linked with our personal self-expression, our identity. It is the sign that the sun likes to be in. And so it's almost like in order for our identity to fully become whole and complete and to flourish, we have to leave behind this past thing that we've been building upon. We have to jump and leap into this new beginning. And again, it might be full of mourning that we're no longer in this old state. Maybe for some of us, it's more welcome, and for some of us, it's not. But there is going to be a fear around the transition, even if there's excitement as well. And so I think that many of us are going to feel ourselves growing into this identity, into this more stately, kingly version of ourselves. But then there's going to be a lot going on in our head, a lot going on in our head. And I say that because Mercury is also in Leo, but it is making many different aspects right now that are unfavorable for having a steady, easy mindset or great conversations. No, no. Mercury, the planet of thinking and communication, is really being conflicted right now. It is making this exact square with Uranus. You can see right here in Taurus. You can see also Mars is right there. So this can bring up some fiery conflicts, some massive change, but the North Node is there. So even though we are leaping forward into this new beginning, we are growing as people, we are going to step into a new piece of our identity that we couldn't have otherwise. With it is accompanied a level of anxiety or personal conflict with others or internally. Many of us, it's going to be with others. Mars tends to represent disagreements, like hard choices, forcing yourself to do things or taking certain actions that are unexpected. Like there is something demanding about Mars, where we are demanded by the universe to step up in some way, to make changes in some way, because Uranus is there, to deal with what the unexpected occurrence has in a way with the North Node that's going to help us actually achieve greater security long term. Greater sense of self-satisfaction, greater value for our lives, greater happiness. And so what is meaningful, what is significant, all those things are going to come into question, but ultimately those are going to be the ultimate goals. And the things that we're confronted with now are going to kind of come out of nowhere, shake up our lives, and ask us to make decisions about how to achieve what is valuable and meaningful to us in our lives. So we're being presented with these circumstances that can feel very chaotic. And if you haven't already, I would absolutely recommend to watch Evolution Through Chaos, the video that I just posted on this conjunction right here between Mars, Uranus, and North Node, because this is massive for everyone. But this is activated in this new moon very strongly with Mercury here. And so we're already starting to feel the tide turning, and we can kind of like see this activated mentally. But on August 11th, when we have the Aquarius full moon, this is really going to activate it in terms of making decisions, having finite endings and beginnings. So a lot of us might be more so in like a gestation period, or we're kind of moving forward, but not all the cards have laid themselves out. We haven't made a lot of decisions or haven't kind of finalized or understood certain things about the path ahead. And then when that August 11th full moon comes, I think that is when we're going to start to see the full picture come into view, exactly what we're going to do. The decision's already been made. The repercussions are coming, that type of thing. So this is like part one of a 2-part series in which we are experiencing this really intense, volatile energy of Uranus and Mars, which is forcing us to evolve. And again, through chaos, through change, through things that we never expected we had to deal with. And now they're at our front door, and it's asking us, what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of values do you want to live by? What kind of meaning do you want to create for yourself? And those questions can dictate how you behave in this circumstance, and it will shift your identity, which is a Leo new moon, new identity forming. It will shift your identity to become more of who you were meant to be in this lifetime. So Mercury, the planet of thinking and communication, is challenged right now with this square. So the chaos is coming, and Mercury is like, oh my God, what do I do with this? So the mind is going wild. We might feel like slightly unstable in terms of our thoughts. We might be racing, indecisive left and right. Mars is asking us to make a decision, and Uranus is putting this quickness to it, or it's giving this unexpected element of like, you have to make a decision on something you never were thinking about before, and you have to make it fast. Like, this is something that doesn't have time to it. It's a fire sign. Things are moving quickly. Things are burning. If there is a fire and you're in the middle of the forest, you better make a decision quickly about what direction you're moving, where you're going to go, because you'll be consumed by the energy of this event if you cannot make a decision of how to move forward to create a sense of security for yourself. And that's exactly what's happening in a more figurative sense in our lives. So this Mercury square here is going to bring about some challenging conversations or decisions. This can be things that you have to present to others and tell them, I want something differently than you want. I want to move in this direction and you don't want to move in this direction. I want to confront this issue that we've been having for a long time. I don't know, it can be anything. Even stepping up and having to ask for something that feels like it's going to improve your life, but not necessarily be an easy thing to ask for. So if maybe some of you need a raise or want to change something about your job or change something about a relationship with others or something about your children, it's like you're having to make some big decisions that will help you. And that's the thing at this Leo new moon. Leo is a self-focused sign. So this is something that you need to check in with your heart and ask yourself, what do I need in this moment? What is going to benefit me as an individual? And then whatever chaos comes as a result, or the chaos might just come on its own, and then you have to ask yourself, what is best for me? Then it's kind of about, okay, how do we bridge this gap? How do we come together and talk about this? How do we do what is best in the scenario overall? But ultimately, we're really having to look at this situation through our personal lens and decide for ourselves, with not considering the other person. But we have a lot of Leo energy and Jupiter in Aries. Like, it is a lot about ourselves, guys. Like, we are the ones who are growing from this experience. We are the ones who need to evolve on a personal level. And so making the decision that will help you evolve is the right decision. Venus in Cancer right here is going to help us bring together emotionally what the other person needs if this is involving one or more people or even a situation. There is a sense of empathy that, thank God, Venus is in Cancer, because if this were just like this, I would be very concerned. Thank goodness Venus is in Cancer, because it's going to bring us that sense of empathy, emotional connection, and willingness to kind of show up and ask what that person needs as well. But that's not the focus. Like, we need to start with ourselves and then be empathetic, emotionally connected, and intuitive towards the other person on how to navigate maybe our differences or our different desires, if that's a thing, or navigate the situation with emotional tact. But again, not forgetting the self and your needs, which really have to be presented here and like stick to. So that's going to be really important here. Another thing that's adding a little bit of fuel to this fire of difficulty in terms of conversations and decisions is the fact that we have Saturn at 23 degrees of Aquarius retrograde opposite Mercury in Leo. So there is this severity to this decision. Saturn is a planet of permanence, of longevity, and of impact. And so whenever we are deciding something, communicating something, thinking about something, it's likely having to do with something that makes a difference in our lives, like a turning point in our lives, something that will kind of move us forward in a direction where we are committed to something. And so when you commit to something, you say no to other things, and it changes the course of your life. And so even though that might be a smaller scale or a bigger scale from some people, depending on if this is exactly hitting a personal planet or not, that's always going to kind of vary from person to person. But there can be little decisions right now that might be like seemingly insignificant that actually do carry long-term consequences and can lead to a snowball effect of building into something greater. And so the Saturn opposite Mercury is putting this tension of realization that this is a big decision. This is a big conversation. This is something important that I have to think about, whether it doesn't have to be a decision or conversation, but for many of us, it will be. But regardless, the thoughts around it feel very heavy and important. And there can be the sense of what is right for me versus what is my responsibility to society, to this person, to the situation, to da da da. Like, Saturn always gives us that dilemma. What is my responsibility here? The good news is that Mercury is a very objective planet. So it doesn't necessarily have trouble working with Saturn, even in hard aspect, to understand that, okay, here's my duty, here are the facts, here's how I can negotiate this and do what's best. So it's a logical planet. It can work with Saturn's kind of traditional restraints and logic, because there is something quite like earthy and realistic and material about Saturn that Mercury can grasp and Mercury can work with and understand. The challenge here is more so the signs. So even though these do work pretty well together, Leo is wanting to make a decision from the heart, while Aquarius is maybe taking a step back and is looking at the kind of like the overarching picture. How is this fitting into the future? What is kind of the non-emotionally attached reality of the situation. So Leo, on the other hand, as a sign, is feeling into things and is saying like, okay, I'm making decisions based off of my heart. What is my heart telling me to do? And so there might be some reconciling between these two sides of ourselves, of like my responsibility towards this thing, my responsibility around the situation, my duty around it, the things that I have to do. It's like duty is like I have to kind of step up in this way or not. And then what is my heart really telling me to do? What is the objective reality? It's what is the future if I take this decision, so make this decision. So there's a lot kind of going on here, and it can build that pressure, and it can sometimes even leave us feeling really stressed, anxious, and sometimes even depressed around whatever we do decide or don't decide. You know, it's like we can feel a strong heaviness to this of being weighed down by these circumstances, because it's not an easy decision. It has weight to it, and so it tends to bring us down in that process. However, Mercury is also making a beautiful trine to Chiron retrograde in Aries. And so while we are going through all these circumstances that can feel intense or heavy or volatile or chaotic, important, it's almost like all of this is leading us to a moment of healing that will add that layer to our personality that is needed for us to grow and become more of who we were meant to be. So these circumstances are all interweaving and playing out in order to form our being. And it's almost like sometimes we need a little bit of pain. Sometimes we need a little bit of sadness or chaos in order to really understand ourselves. Like, who am I in a situation of chaos? Who am I when presented with these decisions? Who am I when I have to talk about these things? And once you start facing these different scenarios, you really understand the identity, the self, and what you want to be in the future. Like, do I want to continue being like this, or do I want to be someone better? And so this trine with Mercury and Chiron is telling me that there is a formation of identity happening through this painful process. And it will vary by degree. Some people will be very healing, very transformative. Some people, it might feel a little bit more painful at first until it gets to that point. Regardless, we're all stepping into a stronger, clearer version of ourselves, and one in which we might be better at other things that having a definite sense of self, knowing who you are in certain situations, knowing how you react, knowing what you want, that then extends to other parts of your life. You're better at setting boundaries. You're better at knowing what relationships are for you. You're better at making decisions. You're better at just taking actions and following through in general, because there's a sense of knowing oneself and what is right for you. And so that is what Chiron and Aries is trying to help us resolve, is issues around those areas of our lives. And so this whole context is going to present the exact scenario in which we can start to define ourselves in a way that empowers us so that we become better individuals, better at relationships, better at our career, better at making decisions, and better at holding boundaries in the future. What else do I want to talk about? Please watch that video with Uranus, Mars, and North Node. I know it's a long one. I also have it on my podcast. I don't think I talk about my podcast on here. It's called Astrology is Real. So it's on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you find podcasts. Again, Astrology is Real. I highly recommend checking that out because I don't trust YouTube. I don't want to get in trouble for saying this on here, but that's the point is that I'm trying to make, is that there's a lot of censorship and accounts that randomly get hacked or blocked, content that gets removed, things that get demonetized, which is fine because the content will still be up. But my concern is more so the content not getting delivered to you guys. And if things get hairy, if things get weird in the universe, which they already have been the last few years, it is concerning to me that the censorship could get to a point where I can't even deliver my message in an honest and authentic way. So I would love for you guys to subscribe to my podcast, even if you prefer to listen to on YouTube, just because if that ever does happen to my channel, you will know. I own the podcast. I have full control. There will be no censorship there. So I'll be able to directly communicate with you guys and say exactly what happened, why it happened, and just continue with my content there so you never skip a beat. So please just have that on your podcast. And if you want to listen to them on there, you can. It's honestly nice for those longer videos. Let me know also in the comments down below if you want me to do to put these moon videos on there, because I've been putting more evergreen content, like the things that have more shelf life on the podcast rather than these kind of transitory moon videos. So let me know if you would also like those on there, because I can absolutely do that as well. I just can't put time markers, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So let me know also about that if you have any information about that. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about is Venus in Cancer, which I already kind of mentioned is really going to help us solve this situation, especially because Venus is also making a sextile to Mars and loosely to Uranus. So this is saying that we can resolve this conflict. We can have these difficult conversations, approach this conflict, approach this chaos from an empathetic, emotional, intuitive viewpoint and do what's best for ourselves and others, but primarily putting ourselves first. Asking ourselves first, what do I need? And then how can I best deliver this to my relationship in a way that is understanding of their needs, but not going back on my own. So that's super, super important. Venus in Cancer is also making a square to Chiron and to Jupiter. And so this is kind of where we see that conflict. Like what's best for me might not always be what's best for the other person. And so if you're kind of feeling that play out right now, again, focus on yourself first, because you are the one growing in the situation the most. And so once you can focus on yourself, then you will have to use some negotiating skills to uncover the best way to integrate this into the person, the situation, the environment, whatever it is, whoever else it could be affecting. Because typically when we make decisions or things happen, it affects not just us. And so that is what I'm seeing for this. Stay tuned now for all of the rising signs and comment down below if this is resonating with you guys. And if you want an astrology reading, of course, you can book one from me at willsboom.com. And I also teach astrology. I have a course on there if you're interested in that. All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, Aries Rising. This is your reading. So for you guys, this Leo new moon's happening in your 5th house of creative pursuits, of romance, of children. So we are having a new beginning for you in this area of your life. Essentially, the 5th house is any extension of ourselves as being manifested or brought out into the world, whether that's a manifestation of our true love in the form of a relationship connection or a child. It's some externalization of that love. So our love of art, our love of a person, our love of travel, writing, that type of thing. It's like we're bringing it out into the world. So again, you guys are having some new beginning in this area of your life, and it is trining Jupiter in your 1st house. So this is a huge potential. This new beginning has a huge potential to help you grow as an individual, to really reinforce or change the direction of your life in a lot of ways. And it is making Mercury is in the 5th house, and it is making a square to Uranus and Mars in the North Node, which are all hanging out in your 2nd house. Again, highly recommend you watch my video chaos through evolution through chaos that I just posted. It's very important. It's about these 3 planets, which are in your 2nd house of finances and of stability. And your sense of security. So what is being challenged and changed for you right now is that sense of security. There is something that you thought would always be there, that you thought would continue growing in a certain direction. There is something unexpected in this area of your life. You might get more money. You might get less money. You might have something that just changes what was consistent, what was known, what was stable and foundational for you, especially in terms of material resources. So this new beginning, it's a potential for this new beginning to somehow challenge that. So let's say you have a new trip that you want to take, or a new course that you want to invest in, or you decide to have a child. Like these kinds of circumstances can lead to different financial outcomes, right? Like making you feel uncertain about how you're going to afford this, how you're going to pay for this, how it's all going to work out in the end. And so that is where some of this sense of instability can be, and anxiety, because Mars in the second tends to bring this level of anxiety, especially squaring Mercury like this. There is some instability in our finances, our home, our like literal like material security. And it's going to give us this kind of restlessness, this restless mind that we are uncertain about. Mercury is also opposing Saturn in your 11th house. This means that you have some hard decisions to make that will affect your future. I was telling everyone this. And it will also affect your sense of community and belonging. This will somehow affect your friendships, your friend groups, your like, I don't know, the way that you kind of interact with others. So maybe you take on this new project and you have less time to see your friends. Or maybe you have to consider how this decision will somehow impact others and a larger group of people around you. And so this can give you a lot of anxiety. This can make you feel kind of weighed down. Like this thing that you're pursuing is really exciting, is really lighting you up. But then there are a level of duty or responsibility towards your community, towards a group that you've kind of invested time into, towards your friendships. And you feel like you also have a responsibility towards them. And it's like a push and pull maybe between these areas of your life. Like, okay, well, if I do this thing, I will have less time with my friends. And if I concentrate on creating this thing, or this person or this situation or whatever, if I put energy into that, it's like there may have to be some sacrifices in other areas, specifically affecting other people in your life, because this is Saturn in the 11th house, or specifically affecting your like community and sense of belonging. But ultimately, Mercury is also making a trine to Chiron in the first house. So there's a lot of healing going on, even though this is maybe a more mentally challenging circumstance to make certain decisions, to have certain conversations, thinking about long-term consequences. At the end of the day, this trine with Chiron in the first house is showing us that the challenges that you're going through right now are shaping you to become stronger as an independent person. So it's going to help you form a greater sense of identity and understanding of yourself, so that you can approach situations in the future with greater sense of wholeness and like knowingness of what you want and what you need, and how to ask for those things. You guys also have Venus in the 4th house in Cancer. Very heavy emphasis on bringing good vibes and good energy to the home and to the household. So this is ultimately going to give you guys like greater ease and satisfaction within the home and family dynamic and relationships there, and a lot more like an intuitive emotional understanding of those relationships. So kind of feeling like when someone needs something or when someone needs time or whatever, you can kind of sense what that's going to look like and how to respond to that person, which is really good because it's making a sextile to Mars in the second. So somehow these family relationships, or even just your way of processing emotions, it's going to be a lot more stable. And with Venus there, a little bit more reliant on others, like you're able to achieve greater emotional satisfaction by having conversations with people, having good heart-to-hearts, opening up with others. And again, this situation, having good like emotional regulation along with good relationships right now with home and family, making this situation, making us, this planet making a sextile to Mars in a second is showing me that while this may impact your security, you're not necessarily certain about how this is going to unfold in the material realm of things, you know, financially long term, the Venus here is going to help with that situation. So maybe having good relationships with the family or good emotional processing is going to help you kind of do this thing anyway, even though you might have to overcome some hurdles or some unexpected circumstances in the material physical world. Venus is also making a square to Jupiter and Chiron in your first. So it may feel like there are things that you have to reconcile between your personal desires and then the desires or the kind of trajectory and the cooperativeness, like the harmony that exists within the home. And this could even be internally, like there may be conflicting desires that you have. So that's something that you'll have to work through at this new moon, maybe conflicting desires or desires that conflict with what other people want, and trying to figure out creative solutions to make it all work, and knowing that it is possible, but that things again, take some creative working through in order to make that happen. Also, Aries, I did not mention that I pulled 2 cards for you, the 7 of Cups and the 9 of Cups. So this is confirmation of being unclear with the 7 of Cups, like something very, like the 7 of Cups is very creative. It's inspirational. It's something that you are aspiring to, that you are dreaming about, you're imagining. And it can be like tantalizing or romantic. For many of you, this could be some kind of romantic connection. But there's something like exciting about the situation that is inspiring you again, but the 7 of Cups is also a confusion, kind of not knowing what to do, not knowing how things are going to work out in the material physical world. So this card to me is telling me that there is something proposing itself right now, and you have the potential to move towards it, but there's uncertainty around it, but it's also exciting. The 9 of Cups to me tells me that your decision to move towards this thing is going to be extremely fulfilling for you. It is going to check off this kind of wish that you've had on your list for your entire life. It's like a genie in the bottle type of situation, giving you your 3 wishes. So you don't want to move away from the situation. It's exciting. Don't let the fear of not having the financial resources, the material stability to stop you, because there is something extremely emotionally fulfilling about the opportunity that's presenting itself to you right now, that feels creative, that feels inspiring, that feels exciting, that feels passionate, that feels loving. And that's what this Leo new moon is about for you. All right. Thank you guys so much. If that resonates, please like and comment down below. And if you want a reading from me, you can always buy one at my website, willswim.com, or using the link down below. I'm now offering in-person readings. If you're interested in that, just hit me up. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Taurus risings. For you guys, this Leo new moon is happening in your 4th house of home and family. So many of you guys may be having some kind of new emotional beginning, because oftentimes the 4th house can elicit really deep core emotions. It can also indicate having a new beginning in terms of moving somewhere, or having a new family member come into your life, or having something new established within the relationships of your family ties. This is also making a trine to Jupiter in your 12th house. So there could be some kind of beginning through an end for many of you. The Jupiter in the 4th house is indicating a larger cycle of personal growth through releasing control, which is interesting because Jupiter is in the sign of Aries, which is a lot about us carving our way through life, making decisions, and almost like taking the bull by the horns, which has this implicit energy of control wrapped up in it. However, because Jupiter is moving through your 12th house, there is always a releasing process. There is always a surrendering or an inability to control like these unforeseeable forces. So things outside of us, things that are unseen to us. And so there is this really interesting journey that you guys are going through spiritually of having to embrace what you can control and what you can't control. And a lot of this is going to be about controlling what is within yourself, like the emotions and the way that you respond to things and what you make out of a situation is essentially where your sense of control and agency is coming from this year that Jupiter is moving through your 12th house. So this new emotional beginning or new beginning within the home and family is asking you to call on those reserves that I was just speaking about. So maybe having to quite literally like let things go, like, okay, I'm going to end this chapter of my life and move into this one. Or it can be like releasing that sense of control that you have around what others in your family are doing, or kind of what is going on within the home or things of that nature. So it is allowing you to sort of process things by allowing them to unfold on their own. As well, with Jupiter making a trine to this, there can be a very strong spiritual evolution of your emotional nature. So if it's not something more literal, if it's more figurative, which can vary depending on if it's hitting a planet in your chart, If it's more figurative, there can be a lot of releasing happening emotionally. And that will help you. That help is coming from the divine. So essentially spirit or God or whatever coming in here to help you change up your life, process the changes that are going to happen in your life. And there are a lot of changes because you also have Mercury in the 4th in Leo making a square to Mars conjunct Uranus conjunct the North Node in your 1st house. This is a very, very big deal for you in particular, because Mars Uranus North Node conjunction is extremely chaotic. It brings a lot of change that is maybe stressing us out, that involves a lot of action and decisions that we are forced to make quickly, these pivots, these kind of reactions to things. And in your 1st house, it's going to be something that is more likely to affect you on a grander scale. And so you'll definitely want to watch my Evolution Through Chaos video that I recently posted on my YouTube, which talks all about this aspect in particular. But this one is really big for you, and I think it's causing you a lot of anxiety with Mercury making a square to these planets. Whatever unexpected kind of chaotic thing that's cropping up in your life right now is going to make you kind of go into a tailspin mentally. And that's what it's doing to all of us, but it's more emphasized, more powerful for you in particular. And that's why I think this new moon is beneficial, because while these events are happening kind of outside of the moon is coming in here to reset you emotionally and give you kind of divine support, especially to let go of the old way of doing things. It's trying to encourage you to understand what to invest in and what to release, because that is what Taurus is all about. It's doubling down on the things that are working, like going even further into it, but knowing if something isn't valuable to us, knowing if something isn't meaningful, isn't working, isn't sufficient in our lives. And I think I pulled the Knight of Pentacles to indicate that there is something that you are meant to invest more into. But by doing this, you have to change your approach or or leave something else behind in order to have energy for this. So there's something that you're changing here. It's going to be kind of different for everyone, but many of you might have to shut one door to walk further into another. And I think the question is, what is more emotionally fulfilling for me? So maybe for some of you, this could have to do with relationships. This could have to do with something more emotional. But at the end of the day, that's what truly matters, is how do I feel by investing further into this? How do I feel by making these changes to the way I approach something? And that is going to be your guidepost for what is working and what to move towards and what isn't. This Mercury is also opposite Saturn in your 10th house. So you may feel like, okay, I want to make these changes for my own emotional well-being. I want to move homes, or I want to do this thing for my family. I want to feel better, so I'm going to do X, Y, Z. But then at the end of the day, you have Saturn in the 10th house that's saying, but you also have these work obligations. You also have to honor your commitments here. You also have this authority figure telling you that there are certain things, certain lines that you have to operate within, certain structures that you have to honor or agree to. And so Mercury opposite Saturn in the 10th is kind of showing this dichotomy of you wanting to fulfill yourself emotionally within the home or just in general, but having some external factors around, especially around career and duty and social responsibilities, like responsibilities out in the world, to some kind of authority, or even someone else telling you can't. There's something going on there that you have to reconcile. And that can be a little bit uncomfortable. But again, with this Knight of Cups, it's telling you to really trust and tune into your own heart in order to make the decision, and not allow yourself to get like overly carried away by what is expected of you. You guys also have Venus and Cancer in the 3rd house. This is making a sextile to Mars in the 1st. So I think that this is going to help facilitate a little bit more of an ease of your mind or your communication. You're going to be able to express yourself a lot better when it comes to your emotions and how things are affecting you, which will help you, I think, make decisions. Understanding and like processing your emotions on a mental plane is very, very helpful in order to know like what the next step is in your life. And so I think that is like what the universe is gifting you with, is a level of self-acceptance and self-understanding around this situation, that even though it's a difficult one, you are able to have the tools necessary to facilitate the decision-making process at this time. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Taurus. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. I hope you guys have a beautiful one. And if you want an astrology reading from me to help you through anything that's going on right now in your life, you can check that out, willisboom.com. Thanks, guys. Bye. All right. Up next, we have Gemini Rising. So for you guys, this Leo new moon is happening in your third house. And so I feel like some of you guys might be getting some new inspiring ideas when it comes into the third house. And I feel like it's going to help you create something more lasting and foundational in your future, especially in regards to finances. And that is maybe because you have Venus right now in your second house of finances, and that is sort of connected to what's going on in this moon. But ultimately, I pulled the High Priestess and the Ten of Pentacles. So it doesn't have to be finances, but something physical, something that is going to last you in terms of legacy in the future. I feel like you are getting these creative insights, these divine downloads and inspiration coming through to help you understand what is solid in your life, what you're growing in your life, these brand new ideas to create more of that solidity, to create more of that growth for yourself. And I think it's going to feel like very exciting and inspiring in that way. However, I also see, actually, before I say that, this moon is also making a trine to Jupiter in the 11th house. So I definitely can see relationships becoming a big factor here. Maybe asking yourself like what you can do to kind of grow certain relationships and maybe not others. And yeah, essentially like your sense of community, your sense of belonging, your friendships, those areas of your life, you might be kind of focusing on those and the long-term effects or the long-term outcome of those. Another way to look at this is that your relationships can be part of what positively influences you during this time. So this new beginning is kind of going to either come within the area of friendships and you're going to have better relationships and better ways of communicating with those friends, or you might have friends that influence you that you already have right now that give you brand new ideas about what you can do in the future to create something really solid. With this Ten of Pentacles, I'm sensing a really strong sense of like family and community and legacy. So there's something solid that you are creating there that is going to feel very with this High Priestess card, very emotionally fulfilling. But with this moon on here, I feel like it's something that you haven't accessed yet, something that you haven't seen yet. So it's either friends you haven't made, ideas you haven't had, or something that is coming out of the darkness, out of the invisibleness, and being born at some point, because this is a new moon. So it's just like the seed of the idea right now. Something that the idea is being born, the seed is being planted for something that can grow into something very substantial and physical and long lasting. So that could be a very strong group of friends that exists in the real world. That could be an idea that then permeates into the rest of your life that can grow into this massive successful business or this beautiful family or whatever it is that you're looking for. Okay, now let's get to the hard stuff. So you guys also have Uranus, Mars, and the North Node all conjunct in the 12th house. This is a difficult transit. Please watch my Evolution Through Chaos video that I just posted, because this is the exact transit I'm talking about there, and it is a heavy hitter and is active in this moon and the next one, and we're really going to be impacted by this. I pulled the Tower, the Five of Pentacles, and the Ten of Wands, all very challenging cards, and this is a challenging transit in a challenging house, so I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. I'm going to tell you exactly how it is. You know, you might have to go through some BS in order to get to the other side, in order to get some of this growth. So let's talk about this for a second. Let's break down the cards first, and then we'll get into the astrology. So the Tower card, this is a moment of loss. This is something that is outside of your control. Things falling apart, things breaking down. You're not able to keep it together no matter how hard you try. Things have to move forward. The Five of Pentacles, to me, are indicating feelings of loss around the situation, being disappointed that this thing fell through, being disappointed that this person left, that this thing left her life, the situation ended, whatever it is. There's a sense of sadness and loss around this. And the Ten of Wands is a card of exhaustion, of burden, of being overworked, underappreciated, of being emotionally burdened, of trying so hard and feeling like you're not making progress. It's this point of reaching your breaking point. So I feel like you guys are going through a huge emotional kind of loss or crisis or emotional turning point in which things might feel extremely volatile, especially internally, but maybe even externally, because Mars and Uranus are already bringing unexpected events and things that we can't control, things that we have to pivot and address on the moment, make decisions about, comprehend, take action towards in like a split second. And we have to be adaptable, and we have to understand that this chaotic moment is happening to teach us some weird life lesson. Being in the 12th house, this is a stressful house because it is already a house where things tend to happen outside of our control. So it's like doubling down on this energy of this is something that coming out of left field. This might be associated with loss and letting go. The 12th house is a house of endings. So there may be some type of loss that does occur in your life that can feel like it sends you into a little bit of a tailspin, especially because Mercury is in the 3rd house squaring these planets. So it's really getting inside of your head, like, oh, is this thing ending? What does that mean? You know, what is next in my life? I feel really distressed from this event happening. There is something that it's like, typically we're not ready to lose what is in the 12th house. It's like we're, and the Tower moment as well. It's like something kind of being ripped from us because the universe is like, something is better on the other side, or we're teaching you some important lesson, or you're going to grow from this. And ultimately there is a lot you can gain from this with the new moon being in the 3rd house. There's a lot you can gain in terms of community and relationships and the way that you talk about things, the way that you think about things, even your future projection and ideas for what's to come ahead. As I mentioned, you're trying to create something really stable, really grounded. Maybe some of you could even have something be financially fortuitous for you on the back of this, especially because this loss is usually linked with Mars and Uranus in the 12th. As I mentioned, it's making a sextile to Venus in the 2nd. So there's some kind of like security benefit or financial benefit that can come from this situation. That might not be the case for everyone, or that might not be so like obvious for everyone unless it's hitting a personal planet, but this is somehow ultimately going to affect your financial security. So like whatever is being removed from your life right now is going to give you either more confidence in the like down the road, more financial success, something material, like some kind of wealth or something like this, as a result of this loss. So there is definitely a lot to be gained from this, again, especially not only financially, but also around like your way of thinking and your community and that type of thing, and maybe even what you see for goals. However, it can feel very distressing in the moment to experience something like this because it's not really something that you are choosing. Mercury, again, is squaring Mars, giving that level of anxiety and maybe even like, I don't know how to quite comprehend something like this or make a decision around what to do in this scenario. Mercury is also opposite Saturn in the 9th house. So how is this playing into my future? What is like morally right in this scenario? What is my duty in this scenario versus kind of what I want to do more in the moment? So there can be a lot that we're trying to process here that, again, it's like you have the 10 of Pentacles, which is your ultimate outcome here. This financial success, this stability, this happiness, this sense of community. But right now, or in this process of chaos, you're going to feel lack. You're going to feel like it's not there. So somehow you are going to transform, like an alchemist, this coal or this lead or this difficult situation into a situation that is very strong, that is steadfast, that has the abundance. So you will transform lack into abundance. And the lack can be emotional lack. The lack can feel like you're not gaining something, you're losing something because something is being taken, but what? Something better will take its place. And you have to be adaptable. Third house, new moon. This is about adapting your mindset, your way of perceiving a situation. And the opposition with Saturn can make you feel a little bit more fatalistic. It can make you question life. It can make you doubt yourself, and these new ideas and great thoughts that are coming to you can make you feel like, well, can I really have that? Is this just how life goes? Kind of doubting the faith, like lacking faith, doubting the universe in a way. And so that's something that can really come up at this time, especially with that 10 of Wands. I feel like there's an exhaustion of life here, an emotional exhaustion. So if you're starting to feel that doubt, you really need to tap into your higher self. You really need to tap into your spirit, into your internal wisdom, because there is a lot here that you haven't uncovered within yourself or are not utilizing within yourself that can support you spiritually at this time. So that's super important. The last thing I wanted to mention is that Venus in Cancer in the second house is also making a square to Jupiter and Chiron in the 11th. So I feel like whatever you are ultimately gaining financially, it's like it's somehow going to affect your relationships in an odd way. I don't know. It's weird because I feel like you are going to gain a lot in terms of relationships, community, the way that you perceive things, your future goals. But then I also feel like you'll gain financially in the long run, but then that somehow also can create a sticky situation with your friends, and you have to kind of navigate that and get creative in your solutions in regards to now your friends and your money, or your friends and your future goals. So anywho, that makes it quite complicated. I hope I didn't confuse you guys or lose you guys, but this seems like a very intense one. I don't want to sugarcoat this, but I also don't want to scare you guys, because it's going to vary in level of intensity based off of your personal chart. If you want a reading from me, if you want to kind of discover if this is landing on a personal planet or not, that will show you a lot about how this is going to affect you. So if you do want that, you can always book a reading from me from willows.bloom.com, or just a general reading, or even entire year forecast. You can just hit me up there, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and please stay safe. Please be careful with this one. It is quite an exaggerated time. And I do wish you the best through all of it. Okay. Thanks guys. Bye. Up next, we have Cancer Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Leo is happening in your second house of finances, and is making a trine to Jupiter in your 10th house, which to me just brings beautiful beginnings in the area of career and financial resources. So a seed is being planted for you guys right now to have some kind of financial opportunities or blessings come through. Maybe you guys can get like a new job opportunity, a new idea that can eventually lead to more finances, but there's something that can stabilize itself here. And being that it's in Leo, it can also offer you some excitement, something that feels maybe more emotionally fulfilling or more passionate or more creative in the pursuit of whatever that is. It could also mean that you could also step up in responsibility in some way, being offered like a higher level position, more authority, some kind of leadership where you have the opportunity to shine your innate skills and worthiness. So let's get into the hard stuff, because the new moon itself looks good, there is other astrological events taking place that do look challenging. And one of them is the North Node Uranus-Mars conjunction happening in your 11th house. I did a whole video about this aspect called Evolution Through Chaos on my YouTube video. Definitely check it out. There's a lot of information here that you guys will want to know. And anywho, so essentially what I'm seeing with this is some level of an uncontrollable situation, something outside of our hands, some level of chaos that is happening in the area of either your future goals or your social group and your friends. So this could mean that something happens in your friend group that kind of throws everyone for a loop. This could happen. There could be some unexpected circumstance that happens that makes you start to question if you belong to a community, or makes you start to question certain goals that you've set for yourself. And so I feel like what's happening here, first of all, I pulled the Justice card, which to me is saying you're getting some kind of justice in forms of career advancement or financial opportunities that are well-deserved. But then I have the 5 of Cups and the 9 of Swords. To me, this is saying that there's some kind of emotional experience that you guys will go through that can leave you feeling really, really anxious and looking at a situation pessimistically. So this is very likely concerning your friendships, and your sense of stability and finances and everything like that are tied into this, because Mercury in the second house is squaring North Node, Uranus, Mars conjunction your 11th. So there may be something that like throws you for a loop within your friend group that then has you start worrying and questioning about your sense of stability. This could be your home or where your money is going to come from. Something that is consistent and stable. You might, with this Nine of Swords, overly worry about the future of this thing. And so this, to me, with the Nine of Swords, is telling me that you guys are maybe worrying unnecessarily, especially paired with the Five of Cups. I feel like this is a catastrophizing type of mentality that is not benefiting you. Not that you don't have to worry at all, but generally, I'm getting the sense, especially with Venus in your first house right now, I'm getting the sense that everything is going to work out great for you, actually. It might be uncertain and you might have to adapt, and that might feel scary that some of the things that have been stable for you are shifting in your friend group or in your financial sector or like material sector. That might feel a little bit scary to you, but ultimately, I feel like you guys are going to come out just fine. The Five of Cups is like, I'm worried about this. I'm focusing on all these cups that have spilled. I'm focusing on all the things that could go wrong, when in reality, there are things that are still going right in your life, and your life is pivoting and shifting in a way that is going to benefit you. So, it might just feel like a scary process at first. So just recognize that you're overly worrying in an unnecessary way. So that hopefully will help you. Mercury, as I mentioned, is making a square to those planets. That's where that anxiety and overworry is coming from. And also the fact that you have Saturn in your 8th house opposite Mercury. So Saturn in your 8th is very concerned about your biggest fears around not having the sense of security. So your mind is on money right now. Your focus is on your financial success. And you do have opportunities here, but Saturn is really concerned with the debts that you have, or the things that can go wrong, the crises that can occur, ways in which you might be left vulnerable by these changes. However, again, this new moon, I do think, is ultimately, while unstable and might make you vulnerable momentarily, is ultimately setting you up for success. So this worry, I feel like, is unneeded in many ways. I also think that you might be called on to support people and like have a duty to be like open towards others or vulnerable with others. And that might feel uncomfortable in this situation as well. So that's just one interpretation of that. Mercury is also trining Chiron on the 10th. So I do feel like you're having some healing and growth happening in your career and your long-term objectives and goals, even though if you don't notice it right away, I think you'll start to see that this is ultimately beneficial for that area of your life. As I mentioned, Venus is in Cancer in your first house, and it's sextiling Mars in the 11th. So all this chaos that's happening in your friend group, or even in the area of like your future goals and kind of what you've seen for yourself, there's a bomb that's been dropped there. And that kind of unexpected event is affecting you, but Venus in the first is what is going to mitigate that. You are going to step up to the plate. You are going to be the harmonizing element in this friend group. You're going to find a sense of homeostasis, or like Venus in the first is going to give you some more like self-compassion, self-love, calmness, like finding the better side of a situation and the better emotions, like the more positive emotions, to assist you in this process. So that's really going to help you in the long run. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys, Cancer Rising. I think it's something that, again, is going to be just and be fair and work out in your favor, even though you ultimately are looking at it from the beginning as something that's distressing or something that is unpredictable and chaotic in a negative way. It's not like that. Just keep that in mind. It's not like that. It's good. It's going to work out. So that's what I'm seeing for you. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want to understand how this is going to impact you personally by looking at it in your chart, or if you want a birth chart reading or a whole year forecast, join me on lilizboom.com and check out my readings. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Leo risings. For you guys, this new moon is happening in your first house, and it's making a trine to Jupiter in Aries in the ninth house. So I feel like this is a time in which you guys are going to be given a lot of opportunities where you feel like life is more so at your fingertips. And I think that you'll see kind of doors opening and start to feel more hopeful about your future. Like you guys have, I pulled the Two of Pentacles options here. You're kind of juggling lots of options. Should I do this? Should I do that? And you feel like maybe you even have a lot of responsibilities, like you have too many options. Maybe you're saying yes to lots of them. And that can actually be where some of the stress is coming from, because we are all experiencing Mars conjunct Uranus in the North Node. And that is kind of giving us an unexpected, erratic, kind of chaotic situation in our lives. For you, it's in the career area. So I kind of feel like a lot of you may experience new opportunities coming at you and big changes in the area of careers, and having to make certain decisions in regards to these things. And I think that ultimately these decisions need to come from a deep intuitive center because of the sextile between Venus and Cancer in the 12th to Mars in the 10th, saying that you really need to have that time alone to connect with your heart and what you value and what feels good emotionally, what feels nurturing and replenishing for you, and then make decisions based off of that, because it might feel chaotic and disorienting to have these changes or even opportunities or mix-ups come in through the career sector, but it's ultimately trying to help you grow, and the decisions that you make will really matter. And so in order to make the right decisions, you have to know who to invest your time and energy into, kind of like what to do in terms of your relationships and your career directions. And so you will really have to tune in with your heart to understand what has the potential to play out well long term. Initially, something might seem better than another thing, but maybe your heart tells you that another thing actually looks better, and you don't know why. And it's like, maybe it's because that thing will have the most prosperous outcome. So trusting your intuition here is going to be super, super, super key. I pulled the Hanged Man, so I feel like some of you could feel like you are in a place of indecision or a stalemate where you have a lot of different priorities, a lot of options, a lot of things on the table, but you're just like almost paralyzed with uncertainty, really going back and forth to the place where you're not making a decision. And so the goal is to make a decision. We need to do that, right? We need to know where to invest our energy. And with Mercury in the first house opposite Saturn in the seventh, this can cause anxiety, specifically around how this decision might affect others. You might feel like you have certain responsibilities or duties to somebody in your life. Like, can I do this because this is kind of going to maybe it will ultimately help me, but it will kind of pin me against this person, or it will like not honor my responsibility or duty to this person. And so maybe it's even like the amount of work do you take on. Maybe you have a lot of responsibilities and you're like, but I have a commitment to my partner and I don't want to just leave them hanging and not be there for them. And so there's like a new way that you're trying to grow that kind of is sort of against some person, or maybe even more than one person in your life. And it's up to you to decide what the best option is for you. You have the Two of Wands, another card of twos, which is choosing between options. But the Two of Wands is a card of planning. And so there is a need here to plan for your own success, to do what is best for you in the long term, as I've already mentioned, to trust your intuition to guide you down that right path. And I feel like you guys ultimately will make that right decision. But with Mercury in the first squaring Mars and Uranus in the 10th, it can feel really volatile. It can feel really emotionally disturbing or anxiety producing to have so many options. Even though it might ultimately be a good thing, it can feel like just very unsettling in the mind and having this wavering back and forth. And this card to me is telling me, again, your decisions now really matter long term, and you need to stabilize your mind as much as you can and consider what is best for you in this situation, and how to transmit that into your relationships or into whatever kind of commitment this is. So it's like, how can I do what's best for me while still kind of keeping this relationship in a good place? That is ultimately what's coming down here. Mercury is also trining Chiron in the ninth house. So I feel like there is this feeling of like optimism and excitement around the situation, even though it might also give you anxiety. So it's this weird mixed bag kind of coming in. Venus in Cancer in the 12th house, as I mentioned, is going to really help you tune in with your personal needs and desires, especially if you take some time out. It can also reflect that there are elements of relationships and connections that have not fully been like released yet. So there may be things that are kind of going on behind the scenes that you aren't able to see yet. And so don't make decisions entirely based on off of others. Use your intuition, use your heart, because you may find that relationship factors change actually in time. And then you'll kind of kick yourself if you made that decision for someone else. And then that whole relationship shifts and you're like, well, that wasn't even necessary to begin with. Or now that this doesn't benefit me, or, you know, whatever it is exactly. So just kind of keep that in mind. Jupiter in Cancer is also Venus is also squaring Jupiter in Cancer in the 9th house. So Jupiter and Chiron. Oh my gosh. So you may be really at war with like what is best for yourself and what is best for others. And this indecision, it's like, it's almost like you don't want to make a decision, but ultimately you have to. And the decision will lead to some type of ending with this 10 of Swords. Like, do I want this? Do I not want this? Do I want to move in this direction? Do I want to move in that direction? And when you decide something will have to end. And there can be a discomfort in that. It can be like, well, I don't want to close a door. I don't want to make a decision. But ultimately you have to do that. You can't do everything. We only have so much time and energy in a day. So, I think ultimately it's beneficial regardless. It's a new moon in your house. So it's a lot of growth in the area of yourself, your life path, your identity, usually a lot of career potential with this as well. So it just might feel a little bit anxious and volatile and a lot of decisions to make, but it's going to lead you down a very strong path if you choose yourself and what's best for you now. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Leo Rising. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you want a reading just for you for your birthday, go ahead and check out willowsboom.com and you can check out all my readings there. I definitely recommend a solar return if you are a Leo sun. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful one. Bye. All right, up next, we have my fellow Virgo risings. For you guys, this Leo new moon is happening in your 12th house, a house in which we have many repressed things occurring, and having Leo in the 12th house can usually indicate a repression around the anxiety or identity. I mean, the suppression of the self and owning one's talents, one's gifts, one's right to shine bright, own their essence confidently. And I do feel like this new moon will have a new beginning in this area of your life where you are somehow being reborn a little bit in this way, so that you do not maybe humble yourself as much as you normally do. Maybe you are more likely to promote yourself, put yourself out there, and not be so timid that you need to like hide behind some veil of, you know, whatever it is that you might be hiding behind. I feel like you guys are stepping a little bit more with this new moon into the confidence, or at least the lack of like holding yourself back, keeping yourself small and humble and all those things. I feel like you're dismantling belief systems around that area of your life so that you can step more into this version of yourself that is either more confident or at least able to like own what is great about you in a more open way, which I guess is like the definition of confidence. This moon is making a trine to Jupiter in your 8th house. So I feel like it's showing you a huge release around fears, around anxieties, kind of purging a lot. I did pull the 8 of Cups, which is a card of releasing and walking away from something. And I pulled the 5 of Pentacles next to it. So there might be this whole fear and lack mentality that is keeping you stuck, that I feel like you guys are addressing at this new moon. You know, in what ways have I kept myself small by focusing on what is wrong with me, or what is the deficit in my life or in my personality? And I felt like I needed some more clarity around that. So I asked, what exactly is this? And I pulled the moon card. So these are our shadow self, the self that is created to mirror the wonderful parts of us and to draw out kind of the emotional experiences from a crisis and from childhood. And I think a lot of this is being stirred up right now for healing and for releasing, so that you can again own your worth, your identity, your gifts and talents, and shine those to the world, which is why I got the Six of Wands. This is a card of performance, which is Leo energy. This is a card of representing oneself and calling out for attention, calling out for visibility, and having the world gaze on you with open eyes. And so I feel like you are going to grow into this version of yourself where that is something you feel worthy of and deserve and actually desire as well. And so I feel like you're going to be less limiting of yourself. Although I will say this is coming, this is a little bit challenging because you will have to completely rewire your belief systems. And the reason is because Mercury in the 12th house is squaring North Node Uranus and Mars in the 9th, which are a conjunction that's happening that is bringing in kind of chaotic changes in this area of our life related to our beliefs and way of viewing the world, our philosophies, as well as like our spiritual understanding of life. And it can also bring changes into what we have learned. So maybe we are studying something new and it's like shaking us up to our core, or even something related to like an actual experience. Like if you've traveled to a place and had some amazing experience, it's like really making this impact on your life in an unexpected way, changing your life in an unexpected way that's ultimately going to benefit you. But you first have to confront this old version of yourself, these old beliefs, this old identity, in order to release it. And that can be somewhat challenging because that has been something that you've had as your foundation for a long time. Mercury in the 12th is also opposing Saturn in the 6th. So there can be also some worry and anxiety that comes from this. There is a desire to have some level of control over a situation. Mercury is your ruling planet. So it's kind of going through a lot with this square to Uranus. It's making some really big changes in your life internally. And it is going to be presented, those changes are going to be presented with a desire to go back to the old with Saturn here, a desire to kind of, the word is like, the word that's coming through is reform, but that's not what I'm thinking. That's not what I'm intending. It's basically revert back to the foundation, to revert back to what is normally there. And so you will have to kind of confront the way of doing things, the habitual way of thinking, the habitual anxieties that you have. And you'll have to surrender to the idea that you don't have full control over this situation, over everything. You really only have control over your mind. And so that's what you're kind of mastering at this full moon right now. And it's crazy because I just had an experience that really relates to that for me. Mercury is also trining Chiron in the 8th, so I do feel like anything that's being brought up from your fears, from your past, even insecurities, all of this is helping you heal and process things so that you can have this experience that I've just mentioned. Lastly, you have Venus in Cancer in the 11th house making a sextile to Mars in the 9th. So Venus is going to bring in some harmony and support and love and beauty through the area of your community and your relationships. So this could be a really good time to cultivate more friendships, and for those friends or those existing friends to help you see this different viewpoint and see life a little bit differently, to help you through that process. Venus is also making a square to Jupiter and Chiron in the 8th. So your friends may tell you things or help you see things that confront some of those fears. So something might happen to a friend, or your friend might say something, and you're having to face this part of you, that vulnerable side of yourself. And that is what's going to instigate that sense of healing. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Virgo Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want a reading, I would love to give you one. You can check my readings out at williswim.com or in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. Up next, we have my beautiful Libra Risings. This new moon in Leo is happening in your 11th house of community and friendship. And I think that you guys are being blessed in this area of your life. And you are, I think, having many potentials for growth in your area of relationships. And I think that your friends and your community specifically is going to help you grow in the area of relationships, whether this is meeting a new person, whether this is healing over an old person. There is something here though that is like taking your energy back. And the reason I say that is because along with the Two of Cups, I pulled the Four of Swords. So it's almost like instead of investing further into a dynamic, you are pausing things a little bit in some way. You are reflecting upon things at the very least. And I feel like not taking a ton of action and initiating a lot. I feel like a lot of this is more deeper internal emotional processing happening. And your friends and your support group are really going to help you achieve this. Because it's making the trine to Jupiter in the 7th, I feel like your relationships and your ability to understand others and work well with others and attract the right people into your life, all of those things are growing and improving rapidly because of this sense of community that you are cultivating, because of the way that you're talking to your friends about things, and relying on others as a network to lift you up. You guys also have Mercury in the 11th house in Leo, but it is making a square to Uranus, Mars, and the North Node in the 8th house, which is a challenging aspect that can generate some level of anxiety. So it is possible for your friends or people in your community to instigate some ideas or something in your life that is requiring you to face aspects of yourself. So for example, if you have a friend that you talk to about issues or a friend that embodies something that you lack, maybe those people can start to present or act as a mirror in some way of the things that deep within you need to face. So that for some of you, that can be fears, things that represent, anxieties or crises or issues from the past. For some of you, that can be stressors and ways in which we might want to have a sense of control that we don't. And so this 8th house, Uranus, Mars, North Node in the 8th house can generate a lot of intense emotions, and it's asking you to really process and release those emotions through your friendships and connections, by talking to people, by relating to people, and mostly all with an open heart, because this is in Leo, bearing your heart, bearing your soul to people that you trust, to people that you have something in common with, a sense of belonging with, something that you're working towards together or that you can connect on, because these are the people that will essentially cradle your vulnerabilities in a way that is tender and in a way that supports you so that you can release anything that is left, any residue is left on them that is keeping them kind of attached to you energetically. And I think that this is bringing you like kind of soulmate energy. Like, I don't know that this is necessarily going to bring everyone a soulmate right now, or it could or it couldn't, but whatever is happening here, I feel like it's ultimately going to bring it, but it has to come on the back of this deep inner reflection, deep inner healing with the Four of Swords, this time of rest, this time of integration. There's a lot that needs to happen underneath the surface, and that, as it's happening or after it happens, is going to bring about these really, really, really beautiful connections in your life. Mercury is also opposing Saturn in the 5th house. So there may be ways in which you are confronted with certain obligations, especially around projects that you've taken on, creative pursuits, business events, or things with children, like you've maybe taken on certain responsibilities with that area. There's like a duty and responsibility to these things in your life that are fun, that are enjoyable, that are pleasurable, and add a lot to your purpose in life, that feel like are a true unique expression of your unique gifts. However, with Saturn here, it's also like these gifts and this personal expression has a sense of duty and responsibility along with it. So it's like work and play all in one. And so this is kind of contrasting or in opposition to Mercury in Leo in the 11th house. There may be decisions that you have to make. Where am I going to honor, like, how am I going to split my time? Am I going to honor this responsibility more, or am I going to be more with my friends? Kind of knowing where to invest your energy into, what relationships to invest your energy into, I think is a big decision. The Ace of Swords to me is like, is this decision represented in a card? And it's also the idea as well, like having information come to you, having a conversation or have an idea pop into your head. There is something of that nature that you are having to kind of work out right now. And it is a weighty decision. It is something that matters. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to put time here and that day and that's it. It's like, no, I'm going to decide to invest in this relationship or uninvest in this relationship. I'm going to decide to do this or do that, because that ultimately affects like X, Y, and Z, which leads you down a different path in life. So there is some weight to these decisions. There is something that can affect you, but 5th, 11th house axis, these are things that will affect you in more of the long term. So it's not necessarily something you're going to see right now. For many of you, it might be something that plays out years later, months later. And so just kind of be mindful of whatever is coming in right now, whatever mindsets that are popping up for you, that you choose the thing that is in your best interest in the long term. You guys also have Venus and Cancer in the 10th house making a sextile to Mars in the 8th. So I really feel like as you are confronting some of these things and you're processing some of these things that you are fearful of, or some of the tragedies that have happened in your life, and, all of those things that I've been mentioning, that is going to directly inform your career. It's like the second that you're losing that baggage, it's somehow impacting your career in a positive way. Or the second that you face this thing head on, it's like your career is benefiting from this decision, from this choice. So yeah, I feel like that's you have a lot to gain from this, and it's going to be very healing for your relationships as well. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra Rising. If that resonates, let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want a reading from me, I have solar returns. I have basically looking at your transits for the entire year. I have a lot of stuff. I can read your birth chart as well. So if you're interested, check that out, willowsboom.com, or in the description box down below, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Up next, we have my beautiful Scorpio risings. For you, this new moon in Leo is happening in your 10th house of career, making a beautiful trine to Jupiter in your 6th house. So this can give you guys a lot of new opportunities in your goals. So if there has been something that you've had your sights set on, you guys can start to see opportunities arise that will allow you to achieve whatever it is you've been thinking about. So this is going to give you the potential to shine more in your career, to have more visibility, for people to recognize your efforts, especially past efforts with Jupiter in the 6th house, kind of the debts that you've paid, the karma that you've put in, the sweat equity, all that is going to really have the time to flourish now. So people really starting to recognize you, people in higher places, maybe your job giving you an opportunity to have more responsibility, or maybe your higher ups just giving you a nice pat on the back, a raise. There's some type of recognition here that I think is well deserved. I also pulled the Knight of Wands and King of Wands, both cards really showing me that you are in that spotlight right now. You are getting that recognition right now, and your passion and your work ethic and your vitality, your stamina, your courage, your confidence, this fiery goodness that you're bringing to your career is being recognized here. You guys are also experiencing a more kind of tumultuous side right now going on in your relationships, because we're all experiencing some more intense energies with the conjunction of Uranus, Mars, and the North Node. For you, it's happening in your 7th house of partnerships and relationships. So you guys might experience some more issues with a particular intimate relationship in your life. It is also possible that this could somehow like this new work opportunity could somehow be conflicting with a relationship, or there could be some aspect of tension there because your Mercury is in the 10th house of career. So it's like your brain is on this career path or this objective or this goal, and it's excited about it. It wants to do it, but then it's making that square to this kind of chaotic, unpredictable energy happening in your relationships. So this square is indicating that whatever you're trying to go after in your career might not necessarily align with your partner, or whatever you're trying to expand upon in your goals might somehow step on the toes of someone that you care about, or there's just like some sense of conflict between these areas of your life that need to be reconciled, essentially. It might not even be that they necessarily directly correlate, but they are somehow indirectly impacting each other. And that ultimately is something that has to be worked out. And it could cause some anxiety. So it could be, for example, that you want to take this new career direction, but your partner is saying something that it's not a good idea, or that you should do this, that, or the other, and it's giving you anxiety, and that's the conflict. So it could be on a very mental plane, especially it is Mercury. It's likely to come through overthinking or communicating about something with another person. So other people are somehow influencing you and affecting you, or your career and your relationships are in some kind of conflict in some way. And so this is where you have to have some sort of resolution occur, because Uranus and Mars, like I mentioned, bring very chaotic energy. They bring unexpected things that people say, unexpected things that people do, because it's in your area of relationships. I'm like, this is definitely someone else doing this, or it's affecting someone else. Like someone else is having a big change in their career, and then you're affected by your partner's change in career. It could be even that. So regardless, there's something kind of unexpected coming in through others, and that is ultimately going to give you a little bit more anxiety. It's gonna feel unstable in some way, especially when you're thinking about your long-term goals. But ultimately, I think you guys are going to resolve whatever this is. You're going to grow significantly from it, and it's going to benefit you. Mercury in the 10th house, though, is also opposite Saturn in the 4th. So you may have some duties or responsibilities or obligations to home, to family, to a spouse, to something of that nature, or even maybe some kind of emotional constriction, a need for security that is holding you back in some way in your goals. So you're really oscillating between, I have this duty within the home, but I really want to go out and make this happen in my career. Or I have this fear and I want this safety, but I want to take this risk and go out and make this happen in my life. So you kind of have this at odds as well. And it's up to you guys to essentially like reconcile this and kind of honor both sides of yourself as much as possible. Lastly, you guys have Venus and Cancer in the 9th house, making a sextile to Mars in the 7th. So I do feel like you guys are getting a bird's eye view of your life in many ways now. I think you're getting visions about the direction and the ways you want to go in, getting more of an understanding or concept behind what is best for you, what that next step is for you. And I think also how to kind of like how to communicate that or share that with others in a way that can bring them on board. So this sextile to Mars in the 7th is showing me that your ability to see the broader picture, to see what you want, to have this information is going to help reconcile whatever is happening in your relationships that can cause like a little bit of a hiccup or chaos in that area of your life. So that's what I'm seeing in terms of the astrology. I also pulled a bunch of cards. I have the Knight of Cups, Seven of Swords, Knight of Wands. I feel like this is you overcoming something likely in a romantic partnership. Like I really feel like a lot of you are married or have some kind of partner that said something that's like impacting your career decisions or kind of making you anxious about that. Or maybe it was a friend or someone that you really love. With the Knight of Cups, there tends to be some romantic element, but just someone that you like really love that's important in your life. With the Seven of Swords, there can be some like sneaky comment or something like hurtful that can happen. Something that essentially is unexpected that comes from this person that feels like underhanded or painful or uncomfortable or just unexpected in general, that can be uncomfortable, but ultimately it gets resolved and you become really confident, really passionate. You stand up for yourself. You stand up for what you want. You go after what you want. You shine your light. This is where I'm going, and you're able to reconcile whatever that is. I also see you have the Nine of Pentacles, Six of Swords, King of Wands. I feel like you guys are making some kind of transition in your life where you're changing where you're making your money. Maybe some of you are taking a job. Maybe some of you are just transitioning the way that you make money in some fashion. So maybe you have the same job, but you're doing things differently and you're able to make money in a different way or more money. And the King of Wands is leading you to be even more confident. You're progressing from the Knight to the King of Wands. So really owning what you desire and then actually going after it and making those changes, implementing these ideas is going to help you grow significantly as a person. And delegate, be like, I'm the leader. I'm going to have these people kind of working under me, or I'm going to get this help in my life so that I can expand more and do more and be more. I think people are really going to see that and respect that in huge ways. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Scorpio Rising. Looks really positive to me. Ultimately, relationships can get tricky sometimes, and it's just how it is. You guys are going through a lot in relationships in general throughout this year because of the eclipses in the 7th and 1st house axis anyway. So this is not really news to you guys by now. And I hope that it does go well, like I predict it will. And if you enjoyed this, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And if you want a reading from me, I would love to have a reading with you. You can just book that at willsboom.com, and you can check that out in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Sagittarius Rising. So for you guys, this Leo new moon is happening in your 9th house, trining Jupiter in your 5th house. So you guys, really beautiful. I feel like for you guys, I'm getting a lot of good energy in terms of cards. I think that you guys are having some big shifts in fate, and it's going to help you guys see your life and your future and your direction a lot more clearly. I feel like you guys are going to feel uplifted and have faith that things are working out in your favor. And this trine to Jupiter in the 5th house is going to show you that the things that you want to invest in emotionally are becoming available to you in terms of your responsibilities, in terms of your work ethic, in terms of your job. You are having things come through that feel exciting, that feel prosperous, that feel uplifting. But it might feel also like a big change up because you are having Mercury conjunct Uranus and the North Node in the 6th house. So it might be an unexpected opportunity or an unexpected change in job or responsibility that you might be like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this, but this is also really exciting. And I feel like I can really see how this could grow. And I feel like I would enjoy doing this. But at the same time, this is a lot, or I don't know how this is going to work. And really how it's going to be is you're going to have to take a leap into the unknown. You're going to have to figure it out as you go. You're going to have to gather your resources, work on your skills, put in a lot of work with this 8 of Pentacles and the Fool card. You're going to have to trust the process. Trust that you're not going to have a full, complete understanding of this job, this opportunity, or whatever this responsibility is, but you're going to work it out as you go along, and it is going to be extremely beneficial to you. And the 9th house could be a new opportunity as well to study or to travel somewhere new. And all of these things I think are ultimately going to really benefit you. So I think though there is some level of like responsibility, so maybe that responsibility is going to school, or responsibility is like getting a house set up in a different country, or maybe that responsibility is like teaching somewhere new that you've never taught before. And you're like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, I don't really have the resources for this. Like you do have the resources, but you may have to develop more of your skill set in order to do it and trust that things will come along. So for many of you, it's going to be some kind of work opportunity or some type of responsibility that comes to you where you might feel like you don't know if you have what it takes, but you're kind of just going for it and you're excited about it. The Wheel of Fortune to me is saying it's an opportunity that is going to open even more doors for you in the future. So this is something that has the potential to have this kind of trickle down effect into many areas of your life later on. And we can really see that because of Mercury opposing Saturn in the 3rd house. Whenever I see Mercury and Saturn involved, there is some decision that has longevity, that has an impact that can bear weight in our lives. And that can feel kind of heavy sometimes. We can feel stressed. We can feel insecure about our communication. We can feel insecure about our level of intellect and knowledge. And that's why I feel like this 8 of Pentacles is kind of coming in. It's like, do I really know everything? Can I really speak about this as well as I'd like? Can I really get my ideas across? And you just have to work on on that. You just have to develop it further within yourself, and you'll find that you can meet whatever opportunity or responsibility is coming knocking at your door. But it does have weight. So making the decision to do this will, again, impact your life in the future in a positive way, and can really alter kind of the course of your life. So do not delay on this decision. Do not allow your insecurities to get the best of you, or allow the feeling of being not ready or it's not the right time, because this Fool card is saying that it is the right time, especially with the Wheel of Fortune. It's going to turn your fate in your favor if you do act on this opportunity. Mercury is also squaring Mars and Uranus in the 6th house. So that's where I feel like a lot of this anxiety can kind of come from. With Saturn, with the opposition to Saturn square to Mars, there's just the level of insecurity. It's like, I just don't know. I have fear. I don't know how this is going to work out. And you can overthink and be overstimulated by that potential. To clarify the Fool card, I pulled the Queen of Pentacles. So I asked, like, what is this beginning? And it's a beginning of you especially doing something on your own with this Queen of Pentacles. There's a level of leadership, of responsibility, of going at it on your own, that you maybe haven't had before, or maybe you're given a new opportunity to kind of take the reins on something where it's not super like a path that's not fully forged. Like, you have to kind of forge your own path and have your own ideas and kind of lay it out, lay out the ideas and form something, essentially. Like, it might be a part of it might be under another entity, because this is also happening in the 6th house with Mars and Uranus. So it might be something that's like already a job or already existing under someone else. But you then have the opportunity to like teach at that place, and there's no curriculum and you have to invent it. Or you might have the opportunity to kind of like have a new job that hasn't been done before, like a new role. And it's like, you're kind of making things up as you go along. You're like, I don't know if I'm qualified for this, but you are. And the Queen of Pentacles is giving you this extra level of responsibility within a container that is going to feel ultimately really satisfying for you, although kind of scary at first. You guys also have Venus in Cancer in your 8th house, making a sextile to Mars in the 6th. So I feel like this is going to help you. Venus in the 8th is really going to help you confront any of your fears and self-soothe, especially through relationships. Talking about this with others, opening up your heart to others, is really going to help ease any kind of fears and anxieties around this. And people may be of assistance to you in this area of responsibility that you're taking on. It's also squaring, Venus is also squaring Jupiter and Chiron in the 5th. So I feel like it's confronting these things is actually going to help you feel just more joy in your life in general. Like, you feel like you're unstoppable. You can have what you want. You can do all the things, and it's going to help you express yourself with greater ease, because you're not going to be kind of holding yourself back, constricting yourself out of the desire to be safe. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Sag Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. If you want an astrology reading from me, I have very powerful ones available on my website, willisboom.com. It will be personalized, obviously, and live. So if you're interested in that, check that out in the description box down below, and have a great day. Bye. Up next, we have Capricorn Rising. So for you guys, this new moon in Leo is happening in your 8th house, making a trine to Jupiter in your 4th. The very first thing that came to my mind was a new emotional beginning for you in your life. And I pulled a card because I was like, that seems too simple. Let me pull a card and get clarity. And I got the Ace of Cups, which is quite literally about a new emotional beginning. And so that's really what I'm seeing for you guys, is I feel like a reset in some way. The way that one of my favorite tarot readers, White Feather Tarot, describes this is like an overflowing, having an excess of something. With the 10 of Cups or with the Ace of Cups, there's an overflowing outside of the cup to where you have just kind of more than you've had before. Maybe if you felt like a lack, or feel like disconnected from yourself or from your life or from, others around you, I feel like this blockage, this disconnection is being removed. And I feel like you're able to feel, you're able to express yourself really authentically. You're able to embrace new relationships and vulnerabilities, because I feel like There's just that authenticity so clearly there. There's just this genuineness, this lack of inhibition, that you're not filtering yourself. You're just feeling things, connecting with people, connecting with those around you. And I feel like your home life also is really benefiting from this. Like you're just feeling really emotionally satiated and stable. And I think that is, again, really affecting your home life. So if you have things going on with family, I feel like that is going to, the murky waters of that can calm down. And you can just kind of ease into wherever you're at in this area of your life. And it feels just like this really, really beautiful period of time. I also pulled the Queen of Cups, which to me is someone who really is in touch with their emotions. Like you're not achieving this emotional stability and satisfaction through like hard work or through force or through not feeling. Like you're really getting all of this experience by just allowing things to be what they are, by experiencing them, expressing them, and releasing them. And I feel like you guys are learning some massive lesson around this, where it's not holding on and like clenching of the heart and constriction of this energy flow, but a complete release, which is allowing your relationships to function in a much better way. And I think that's why you have Venus and Cancer in your 7th house right now, very much helping your relationships, creating this harmony, this cordialness in the relationships that you want to invest in. You guys are also experiencing Uranus, Mars in the North Node in the 5th house. So this is going to create some area of your life, 5th house topics, that has some kind of chaos in it. Uranus, North Node, Mars, I have a whole video on it called Evolution Through Chaos that I highly recommend you watch because this is a really big transit. But this is some kind of unexpected event, things throwing us for a loop, things that we're going to have to make decisions on. We're going to have to like basically be adaptable in this area of our life and have things shaken up in a way that gets us out of our patterning. And for you, it's in the area of children. So maybe many of you have children and you're having to break out of some patterning in regards to your relationship with them. Or maybe you unexpectedly are going to get pregnant or something of that nature. Maybe it could be something around your creative projects and process, kind of the way that you express yourself artistically or express yourself poetically, or even physically, or even in relationships like romantic dating relationships, the ways that you express yourself there. There is some kind of change up in this area of your life where it's going to ask you to express yourself in a different way or react to some situation that's unexpected or weird or chaotic, but it's going to help redirect you in a way where you actually become more self-aware, become more in tune with your emotions, become more in tune with your needs, become more authentic with your expression. And so like this chaotic situation in your kids or your creative projects or your dating life, that has a potential to create that healing process for you. And I hope that's making sense so far. Mercury is in the 8th house, making a square to Mars and Uranus in the North Node of the 5th house. This can be where some anxiety can come from. We have to overcome our old patterns of falling back into that mindset and reacting. I think that's the biggest one here. We have to overcome our desire to just react in the moment. We have to establish impulse control, which the 5th house can be kind of gratifying in the moment. And there may be part of you that has to reel that in and change your relationship with immediate gratification. And this is linked to your emotional nature. So processing these emotions, like establishing a new emotional basis, understanding your needs, meeting your needs, all of that, like truly satisfying yourself from the inside out, will help you with impulse control and delaying gratification, because you know what you really truly need to feel satisfied, and you will not try to substitute it with mediocre things in the meantime. And so you might have some of those chaotic events trigger this part of you that wants immediate gratification, but you have you realize it's no longer an option. You realize you have to do things differently, which is this Mercury square Mars, which can bring out anxiety, can bring out fears. Mercury is also opposing Saturn in the second house. That's generally going to generate fears. Saturn in the second house wants to do it the way it's always been done. It wants to have this sense of security by doing what is easy, not what's easy, but like traditional, I should say, what's known, right? It wants to keep things, it wants to keep you safe. And Mercury is trying to purge in the 8th house. It's trying to release, it's trying to express, it's trying to be authentic, as I keep saying. And to stick with what's known, what's always been done, stay inside the box, keep tradition alive, is not going to create the right environment for that most authentic expression of what is true for you now. And so you will have to kind of combat these sides of yourselves, these fears of releasing the known, the secure, to allow yourself to just kind of throw that up in the air a little bit. And I think that you'll do that really well. I pulled the 6 of Wands. I feel like this is you in this fullest expression of yourself. This is you being seen, being recognized, and also having Mars and Uranus in the 5th house can be like this as well. You suddenly have an experience where you're getting recognized for something, where you're being witnessed, where you're on stage, where you're visible, and you can own this feeling, and confront some of the old emotions where you kind of maybe held yourself back. And so this again is this authentic expression, as I keep using those terms specifically. I feel like this is you really, really owning your gifts and your talents, and having unexpected things bring that out within you, internally and in external circumstances as well. You guys also have Venus in Cancer in the 7th, which I already mentioned, making a sextile to Mars in the 5th. So I feel like your relationships are really going to draw out this light within you and going to help support you and be like, yes, girl, you got it. Yes, boy, you're doing it. Like, these relationships are going to be the ones that you need to lean on right now, because your close chosen loved ones want to see you shine, and they will be here to support you 110%. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want an astrology reading from me, you can always get one at willisboom.com. Maybe you want a future forecast, or you want me to read your birth chart. I can do all of that. I can answer all of your questions for these crazy times that we're in. And you can find that in the description box or on willisboom.com. Thanks. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Aquarius Rising. For you guys, this new moon in Leo is happening in your 7th house of relationships, giving you a beautiful new opportunity in the area of others. So this could be establishing a new relationship in your life that you really enjoy, maybe new connections, maybe people that you work with that are new, or a new friendship, a new partner, or a new way of relating, or a renewed sense of an existing relationship. So feeling like you have a new leaf kind of turning over in your partnership. And it is making a trine to Jupiter in your 3rd house. So I feel like this is absolutely coming through different ways of communicating, some ways, like different ways of perceiving things, talking about things, networking, and connecting with others. So if you do have a new relationship emerges because you've been chatting with friends and those friends introduce you to someone else and that's how you meet, or if you have a renewal in an existing relationship, you are communicating and thinking about things in a totally new way with Jupiter in the 3rd that is going to allow you to see yourself very clearly, grow in the way that you present yourself in a way that is going to honor yourself, your boundaries, your needs, assert yourself in a confident way, and that will then enhance and improve your amicability and your relationship overall. Very, very beautiful. We do have some challenges here with Uranus, Mars, and the North Node all conjunct in the 4th house, indicating some massive changes, some erratic kind of behavior or erratic evolvements in the area of home and family, or even emotions. So there may be some aspect of your life in that area that has unexpected twists and turns and turbulence. And this is also making a square to Mercury in the 7th. So you may have to confront this and have some difficult conversations. You may have to have some like awkward things that you're laying down the law with. I did pull the King of Swords. You may have to kind of say exactly what you think, hold your boundaries around certain areas, or express certain emotions that might feel more intense. So it's not to say that your relationships are all easy and everything's perfect. The new beginning of relationships may be because you are finally addressing some old emotional wounds, or you're finally airing out the skeletons in your closet, or there is a weird situation that is appearing out of nowhere in your home life or in your emotional nature that has to be dealt with. And because you are dealing with it head on in an honest way and transparent way, you are resolving it and establishing even stronger emotional relationships and connections with others. Uranus, Mercury is making that square to Mars and Uranus, as I mentioned, but it's also opposing Saturn in your first house. So there is a need for you to really think between like your responsibilities towards yourself and your fixed way of being and the way that you've always done things, and kind of being consistent and just doing the same old. There's that, and then there's like your relationships and the way that you think about and prioritize relationships. And so these areas of your life are a little bit at odds. Like, do I want to do things differently, or do I focus on what I've always done, or do I want to focus on things I've already done? And so, yeah, you may have that kind of thing. Sorry, I just looked down at the cards. I pulled the Seven of Pentacles and the Five of Swords. The Seven of Pentacles has this family on here. It's something that has grown and established over time. It's something foundational and will continue to grow. And the Five of Swords, which is conflict. And so this is kind of where I'm seeing there's something about home and family that's having some kind of conflict that has to be resolved, which I've already talked about. But I feel like you are ultimately going to do this, to resolve this with your honesty, your truthfulness, your transparency. And it could be a little bit cold, but it's like very direct and very to the point. And I think that's very, very important. If you are not truthful, that is when you're going to get into a world of pain here. You really don't want to do that. So definitely learning how to express yourself properly is going to be very, very key here. And that's where this growth opportunity is coming from in relationships that are existing or new. And this thing with Saturn in the first, I feel like you have to realize that you have the power to change your life with this Magician card. There may be this desire to keep things the same, or you may have fears that you're somehow going to lose some aspect of yourself, or that you're going to somehow miss out. I don't know. There's something around the self and fear around the self and self-preservation that can hold you back here. So you don't want to overly rely on those instincts of self-preservation. You have the tools to repair yourself. If there is a breakdown in a relationship or a breakdown in communication, you have the tools necessary to confront this and to fix it. And so trusting in the act of repair after rupture, trusting in the act of you being able to self-regulate, to communicate, to heal yourself, to do things differently and bounce back if things go awry. That's what this card to me is saying. You guys also have Venus in the 6th house making a sextile to Mars in the 4th. So I definitely feel like work relationships are doing well right now. You guys might even get more work opportunities. And with the sextile to Mars in the 4th, I feel like this, your area of responsibilities, you being more able to work with others, collaborating well, those areas of your life kind of improving, you stepping up to the plate in terms of responsibility, that is really going to ease up any kind of conflict that you do encounter within the home. Lastly, I have the Page of Wands. To me, this is something that is, again, this renewal or this newness happening in your relationship sector, this little ball of light, this opportunity for growth, this opportunity for understanding, for wisdom, I think is really coming through for you. And I love that in the next image, in the card after, you have the Magician. She's now using this ball of light. So I feel like you are using this opportunity to hone your skills, to become a better person, to become a wiser person, more able to communicate and resolve conflict. And that is enhancing the relationship ultimately. So that is what I'm seeing for you, my beautiful Aquarius risings. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And if you want an astrology reading from me, like a full forecast for your year or a birth chart reading, I offer that. Also synastry, relationship readings, which is always so much fun and my favorite. So if you want any of those, check that out at willisboom.com or using the link in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right. And last but never least, we have my beautiful Pisces rising. For you, this Leo new moon is happening in your 6th house, and it's making a trine to Jupiter in your 2nd house. What I love about this is that I feel like the 6th house is our area of responsibility, of work, where we have to show up to life and really kind of show how diligent, how dedicated we are. And this is a new beginning here. So some of you may have new work opportunities, new responsibilities that kind of land on your plate. But with the trine to Jupiter in the 2nd, they have the potential long term to actually benefit you financially. So maybe not right now, maybe not tomorrow, or maybe it is right now. For some of you, it could be right away, but new moons generally tend to be a seed planted. So they can tend to take a little bit of time to grow. And if that is the case, I feel like there is some kind of new thing you're taking on that you guys have the potential to financially benefit from later. And I pulled the 6 of Pentacles, the 5 of Cups. This to me is saying the work you put in, you get out. And the 5 of Cups, I feel like, is telling me that this hasn't always been the case. There have been times in which you've put effort into things that have not manifested in the way that you would have liked, that have felt like you've put way more in than you've gotten back, that have led to kind of this feeling of disappointment or lack or loss and feeling like your needs weren't being met in that situation. What I'm seeing with the 6 of Pentacles next to it is I'm seeing that this is exactly the situation that's being confronted right now. Although I feel like mentally you might think that that is going to reoccur. You might think like, I'm going to invest in this thing. I'm going to do this new job. I'm going to take on this new responsibility, try this new thing, and it's not going to work out. It never works out. Or you might have the feeling of like, it might not be as big as I want it to be because the last thing wasn't as big as I want it to be. Some kind of mental process that can get in your head right now. And it's going to work out well. Like whatever this is, it really has the potential to bring a lot into your life and to equally deliver to you. So you can trust that whatever is coming in for you has that potential to grow financially long term. And it's not just going to lead to the disappointment that you always feel like you get. Maybe you don't always feel that way, but if you have felt that in the past, you don't need to worry. And the reason I'm talking about worry in particular is because you have Mars conjunct Uranus in the North Node in your 3rd house. So very chaotic energy already with Mars and Uranus and the North Node. It can bring unexpected events. It can bring just like a tumultuousness and this free flow of energy that's just going everywhere, especially in the 3rd house, which already has this tendency to be like scattered, disorganized, hectic, busy, interconnected, stimulating, all these kinds of words. So I feel like you can have experiences that just come out of left field and keep you really, really busy, but also maybe like uncertain of what direction you're going in. Maybe there's like lots of opportunities coming and you're trying to figure out how to sort through it. Or just feels like life can feel like a little bit chaotic right now in general. That's the feeling I'm getting with this, is like a whirlwind of energy and things going on that are kind of general. It doesn't feel like, oh, this specific thing, except maybe in the area of like communication. Like I'm having difficulties in this communication. It's like kind of chaotic. I'm trying to understand this person or this thing. It's a little bit chaotic. And so that might be something you have to work out. And this could also be in your work relationships. This new beginning is in that area of your life. And so maybe some of this weird kind of chaos with communication is going to translate into you working on this and improving this, and then having this new beginning in your work relationships or your responsibilities with others. Because this is like co-working. The sixth house is like collaborating, working together with people. So if you're working together with someone on something, you may have to confront different ideas, like kind of chaos in that area of your life where there's maybe some opposing styles and opposing thoughts, and like you're having to sort through some of those things. But that's ultimately going to create this brand new beginning for you in this area of your life that will financially benefit you long term. Okay. And the reason I'm specifically kind of honing in on communication is because Mercury's in Leo in the sixth house squaring Mars and Uranus in the third house. Mercury is also opposing Saturn in the 12th house. So in order to kind of develop this collaboration, this mutually reciprocal relationship, you may have to confront some of your own like reservations. The Saturn in the 12th house can represent some of our more like subliminal fears, the ways in which we may hold ourselves back, not say the things we want to say, not like fully embody our strongest energy. And so I think that you may have to confront some of that tendency in order to really like own your opinion, say the right things, create this cooperation that you want. It's like you have to have a stake in this. You have to have an identity and a presence in this. And if you pull your energy back, which Saturn in the 12th can do, if you remain isolated out of fear, that type of thing, you won't really get the benefit out of this scenario. So just make sure you don't do that. You guys are also having Venus and Cancer in the 5th house, making a sextile to Mars in the 3rd house. So I think that this is really beneficial for relationships, especially resolving any communication issues. It's going to help you see like underlying commonalities and see more eye to eye, and also bring more joy to the situation. How can we focus on what is benefiting us here? How can we focus on the pleasure that we get out of this connection, out of working together, out of this goal, whatever it is? How can we focus on that to create what we're really looking for? I pulled a bunch of cards here for you guys. It's like, I'm just like trying to look at them for a second. I have the Knight of Cups, the Ten of Swords, the Seven of Swords, the World, and the Ace of Swords. So a lot of swords, which again is really focusing and honing in on ideas, communication, and our ability to connect to one another. With the Knight of Cups and Ten of Swords next to each other, I feel like there is some kind of emotional ending in a relationship. Maybe some of you are having breakups and you're really changing because of that. That's not really something I see in the astrology though, so I'm not going to like hone in on that by any means, because that's not really what's represented here unless it's making an aspect to one of your personal planets. But that is a potential just through the cards alone. But the Knight of Cups and the Ten of Swords, I'm going to say, are a change in the way that we are relating to another person. Maybe with the Knight of Cups, there is an idea, there is a propensity to idealize a person or situation. There is maybe a way to approach them with flowery language, saying what they want to hear, kind of accommodating, being charming, always being like wanting to be liked. And with the Ten of Swords next to it, I feel like there is more of this powerhouse energy of putting a stop to that and embodying more of maybe like the less likable version of yourself, the one that is like very clearly saying like, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is how the situation is. And for some of you, that is what that means. And for some of you, there are going to be ends to relationships, romantic relationships in particular. I pulled the Seven of Swords. So some of you may feel like there was some kind of betrayal. There was something that wasn't visible. There was something that I feel like this is a completely different message than the astrology. So yeah, there's two messages coming through. One is the astrology, one is the cards. So just bear with me. If this doesn't resonate, you can just skip to the end. But I feel like some of you may have a breakup because of a betrayal or something that was unseen or like not totally transparent or honest. And that is going to bring you to the World and the Ace of Swords, which is a sense of I think, realization and learning from this lesson. The World card is a completion process. It's an ending of one chapter and a beginning of another. With the Ace of Swords next to it, it's like an ending to the way that you viewed things or your understanding of something. And so I feel like closing this door, closing this chapter is allowing you to evolve onto your next phase. So having maybe this difficult conversation, is ultimately going to lead you to like better and brighter things. So some of you, that difficult conversation is just working out, like standing up for yourself and saying the things that you think and owning what you believe. And then for others of you, it might be a breakup and putting your foot down and saying, you know, this crossed this line and I can't go back. I don't see a lot of relationships, particularly in the chart, but I do see a lot of like work relationships, like collaborating. And there is Venus tied to Mars here, but it's in a positive aspect, which to me is going to ultimately bring people together. So, but then there is a separation here. So I feel like even if there is like some kind of breakup or disconnect between people, it's almost like that is somehow going to bring more joy and romantic life for that person later on, because of what I'm seeing in the chart. So lots of information here, kind of all over the place, guys. I don't know what's going on with you, Pisces. But the cards don't lie. So I'm just kind of wanted to say what I see. So if that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful day. If you want a personal reading from me, I'm always available on williswim.com. And I hope you guys have a beautiful one. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.